Hello, I'm Jean-Baptiste Laurent from InfoCommConneced and I'm glad to introduce you to the JPEG XS mezzanine compression for IPMX. As you know, AV over IP is taking off. It's the new infrastructure of choice replacing traditional AV installation. AV over IP brings many benefits versus traditional AV installation. It reduces complexity. With less cables, it's bidirectional, it increases agility with easy configuration and simplified workflow. It's also lowering cost with an easy install with some condition. If you can reuse Cat5e cables as much as possible, if you use COTS equipment, if you bring interoperability with other vendors, if you use open standard and open specification. We have more and more pixels to transport. We have today over 70 billion meters of Cat5e and Cat6 cables deployed in the world. That's 10 meters for every man, woman, and child on Earth. So how to move to AV over IP efficiently? With uncompressed, it's very challenging. Data rates are massive. 4K 60 444 10 bits is about 16 gigabits per second of data to move from one point to the other point. It requires more than 10 gig, maybe 25 gig Ethernet, 100 gig, 400 gigabit if you consider very large infrastructure with a lot of video coming in and coming out. Without compression, it's challenging. Of course, we could redeploy new wires, but it may not be possible. Assuming it's even possible, cost estimate to remove cables have scaled to unreasonable budgets per building. JPEG XS is a new standard built specifically to address these challenges. It enables to manage more pixels, to save cost and power, to simplify the IP connectivity while preserving quality with no latency. JPEG XS in fact means extra small and extra speed. The standard has been created by the ISO JPEG committee and from 2017 taking TICO as baseline and collaborating to release officially the standard later in 2019 and this year. Today we have first solutions available and presented at InfoCommConneced. JPEG XS is a true alternative to uncompressed. If you are familiar with other compression technology like intra-frame codec or such as JPEG 2000 or distribution codecs such as H.264 or HEVC, they cannot achieve the same level of latency, low complexity, flexibility to address software and hardware platform. They mainly focus on achieving the smallest compression ratio at a more important cost in complexity and latency. JPEG XS is perfect in quality, offering fully transparent quality on average up to 10:1 compression. We have been testing the codec over natural content, graphic contents, desktop content to address different use cases for Pro AV applications. We even tested the codec over multiple encoding-decoding passes to verify that the quality would remain the same if we cascade multiple devices together. JPEG XS is a line-based codec. That's the reason why the latency is very low and the complexity is very low as well. Latency can be as low as 1/10 of a millisecond. So it's not noticeable for human vision applications. It's very low power and low complexity thanks to the fact that we only need within the compression to bufferize few lines and often in a compression workflow, the need of memory is driving the complexity and the power consumption. That's a huge benefit of the JPEG XS technology against other compressions. JPEG XS is future-proof. It's enabled to support today any resolution, any chroma format, any color format, any bit depth, HDR as well as SDR, of course, and any frame rates. Moreover, JPEG XS offers also an embedded downscaler within the decoder. That downscaler is not able to support every resolution, but it supports all the traditional HD 4K 8K resolution, meaning that if you have to decode and downscale directly a 8K video source to extract a 4K or HD resolution, this is offered by the decoder itself. JPEG XS finally is an ISO standard, meaning that it enables interoperability between vendors in AV over IP. Most of the parts have been published already. RTP transport is in final draft, and the codec comply with the SMPTE 2110-22, which is the compressed essence transport over video over IP system. JPEG XS and IPMX today offer an efficient AV over IP workflow solution, enabling to transport not only HD, but also 4K and even 8K over today's deployed cables, Cat5e or Cat6. It's possible to transport 8K below 2.5 gigabit Ethernet network, HD and 4K below 1 gigabit Ethernet network. It's the way to build an efficient AV over IP workflow for KVM, gaming, video walls, any AV over IP applications. In conclusion, if you want to learn more about IPMX, please send a request to the IPMX working group in AIMS to join the group. And these are the conclusions to show you what are all the benefits of IPMX with JPEG XS. It's enabled to achieve more than proprietary Pro-AV protocol. It's enabled to preserve low latency and high quality with a super low complexity. It enabled to upgrade to new formats such as 4K and 8K on existing cables. It guarantees, finally, interoperability thanks to the use of a standard-based approach. Thank you very much for listening.